We bought it when we retired. We had lump sums and we bought it as an investment, really. We decided to put it on the open market with a local estate agent.
We were starting having to pay council tax, and then this area, they've just put council tax up to double if it's a second home. I was talking to our son about it, and it turned out his friend, our son lives in Manchester, and his friend in Manchester had sold a property through Springbok about 6 months ago, and he'd been really happy as well.
Hi Paul, Sue, how are you doing? You okay?
Yes, well.
Yeah, very good.
Good. So thanks for joining me to discuss the sort of journey with Springbok that you've just concluded. Just first, you want to sort of walk into a bit of information on the property that you sold with us, just so people obviously can maybe relate. So what property was it that you sold, and what was the reason behind that?
You want to go?
Yeah. It was a 150-year-old stone end terraced house in a semi-rural location in about 3 miles from where we live in Kirkby Lonsdale. It had a big lounge and large kitchen, diner, just a rear yard, and then original stone stairs to 2 bedrooms, one double, one single, and then quite a large bathroom shower. So it was kind of a character property.
Yeah, and what was the reason behind selling it? So obviously you'd held on to it. So it's just down the road. Is it like a buy to let? Was it something you had for a while?
We bought it when we retired. We had lump sums and we bought it as an investment, really, on the basis that we could use it as a holiday cottage and rent it out with the company, which we did. We did that successfully for 2 years, and we got extremely positive feedback, and we worked well with the company. And we did our own cleaning and laundry, so it became a commitment 2 full days a week, along with our other commitments of grandchildren and aging parents. So it was a decision that we felt as though our other commitments were kind of thinking it's getting too much for us, and we decided to put it on the open market with the local estate agents round about Easter time.
Yeah, it was about this time last year.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, I take it, you sort of obviously had a relationship with some of the local agents, either from whether you bought your own property or the investment property here. So you went with them.
Yes.
It didn't necessarily then go to plan with them, hence why obviously you then found yourself with us. What were sort of the issues you found there?
That's right. It was a local company in town, and they were very positive that they'd sell the property, that they'd undertake all the viewings, which we had about, would you say 8? About 8 viewings?
Probably more than that.
Maybe more than that. 8 to 10 viewings in probably about 7 or 8 months, would you say?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you'd got interest there,
Yeah.
whether it was just down to either the information not being maybe provided to the viewers, or maybe it could be the market. At the end of the day, the market's never going to always be buoyant, but this doesn't mean that it has to then come to a standstill.
Yeah.
Obviously, things didn't work out
really with them.
I think what the most of the feedback was, it was a lovely cottage, but it was a little bit too small. It was kind of 2 bedrooms. The second bedroom was really a single bedroom, and so we did with the estate agent. We adjusted the description to make it clear it was kind of a bijou property and whatever. It was, but that was the consistent feedback. Everybody seemed to like it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't quite right for them, so it didn't.
Yeah, some people wanted more outdoor storage for paddle boards and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Because it is kind of where we are is on the edge of the Yorkshire Dales. So
Yeah, people may well have a few
Yeah,
like
yeah,
outdoor
yeah,
sort of hobbies, and
yeah.
obviously certain
yeah,
things like that you can need
yeah,
the space, can't you, with bikes or things like that as well.
yeah.
So, well, and obviously things didn't work out. How did you come across ourselves? Obviously, we're not someone you can walk past on the high street. Sort of locally to it. Obviously, it is a nationwide company online. How did you find us?
Got got a letter through the post basically, and I said to Sue, is it worth just investigating whether these people can what they can do? I was a bit skeptical, to be honest, about whether it was going to be a good, whether whether you would be able to help and get the right kind of price that we were looking for.
Yeah, I think because you had the initial conversation with Noah, and then he put you in touch with Lewis, who's one of the valuers. And obviously, you might well have explained that there were a couple of options that you could go down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he was very realistic, really, wasn't he? And we're thinking, well, probably that's right. And he seemed to be talking a lot of sense, really, didn't he? Kind of helping us make a decision about that option. But yeah, I mean, we valued his honesty, and he offered us a price which, at first we thought, but then we thought, actually, with the options of not paying solicitors' fees and not having that major hassle with that.
Yeah, and then also the time you might save if you get it sold quicker. It comes down.
Because we were starting having to pay council tax, and then this area they've just put council tax up to double if it's a second home.
Right. Okay.
So ironically, just after completion, we got a letter from the council saying that the council tax for this current tax year is being doubled. So that would have been like about £4,000.
Yeah.
So by the we
So would you say some of the skepticism, like at the start, as you mentioned you'd had, was sort of starting to sort of go once you'd had those conversations with Lewis? As you said, he was straightforward. He sort of told you, gave you the options. You felt like then you had a bit more information to say, okay, this is how the process works, and I do understand it.
Yes, I felt that. We were both sceptical, but I think personally, I felt he was talking. We didn't feel we were being conned, if that makes sense. It seemed like a reputable agency company, and he was really speaking to us honestly, and we were able to really think about it and get back to him and make a decision.
Do you think having different people at different stages who sort of have a primary focus was a benefit? You felt like there was actually probably a little bit of time being spent on things, from the value side, negotiation.
In retrospect, I think that's correct. Yeah, I think at the time we didn't really realise that. Although I think you did send through a kind of flowchart thing that explained the process. But it was like Lewis we signed up with Lewis, and then the next minute we were with Mason, and then it went on like that, which I did think worked well, but we weren't expecting it to be like that. So
yeah, well, if you've dealt with a normal agency, probably you would have dealt with one person who would have done sort of the viewing, and they would deal with the sale, the progression, and all the way through, wouldn't they? Yeah. But
I think the other thing was just to say was in our thinking in terms of signing up, when I can't remember the exact time, but it was approaching kind of winter, and we were kind of thinking, well, there's not going to be much happening around here that time of year anyway, so we might as well try it now while things are flat anyway. And if it didn't work out, we could go back to another estate agent.
Yeah, in that whole point where you might have spoke to a local agent, they've told you that no one's buying houses in around Christmas, that no one's going to do this. Why not wait a few more months? Obviously, so you give it a go, and ultimately, that time frame that you would have probably waited to go back on the market, you've come on the market, sold, completed, and taken. Yeah, we hear that quite a bit. But generally, if we go through this process year on year, and I spoke to a few people around this time of year now, like yourselves, who did the exact same thing, came on just before December, and then even take away the couple of weeks over Christmas when maybe solicitors are closed or people shut down, let's say, then they're still getting sales done in a month or 6 weeks, and it shows people are buying it all the time. It's just making sure you're proactive enough, I think. And then the final stage, which generally can be the most stressful, I would say, when it comes down to buying and selling houses, is like the progression side of stuff with the solicitors and the conveyancing. You had Abby, who was dealing with it there. Obviously, the solicitors that would recommend as well would sort of help out for yourselves.
I would give a shout out to Abby. She was
Yeah.
brilliant, actually. She rang really regularly. She
was with us regularly, step of the way, and keeping us informed. So she was really helpful.
Well, overall, obviously, it sounds like things have gone to a relative to the plan. Is there anything you want to add about the process, or anything to someone who might be contemplating the idea, if they've heard those things saying, "Oh, the market's not good now, you need to wait"? I think it sort of shows that as long as you're a bit more proactive and in touch with things, it can happen.
Yeah, I think you were asking about if we were less skeptical after we'd signed up, and I think I was still a bit skeptical at that point. I was probably skeptical through till we got an offer, and then Abby started going through, because I kind of thought, well, what if we don't get an offer? Will Springbok try and make us accept less, and da 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 da? But that didn't happen.
Yeah,
so
you felt that, didn't you?
Yeah. So it's gone. It's done what you've said, and we've got less hassle now because we've not got that problem.
I could say, yeah, you've got less of the bill on that council tax coming through, less hassle 2 days a week with everything else going on. I think it probably feels like you've got a lot more free time.
Yeah, it does. It does feel better. Yeah, I think initial being skeptical from my point of view, but I felt as though that was
compartmentalized.
Yeah. So I could put that to one side and not worry about it, because I was reassured that we would get a sale. Yeah.
I think the other thing, ironically, partway through the process, was talking to our son about it, and it turned out his friend, our son lives in Manchester, and his friend in Manchester had sold a property through Springbok about 6 months ago, and he'd been really happy as well. So that was we didn't know that when we signed up, but that was a bit of reassurance during the process that
Yeah, well, I think like everything, it's like why we have conversations with people like yourself, because there'll be a lot of people in different areas of the country who may well not know someone who's dealt with this. Obviously, you're also having those same questions and reservations you might have had at the start, and to see that it has worked out, and I'll say for the benefit of stress or time, money, whatever it is that option, it shows it works.
I think the other thing I was a little bit skeptical about was that this is kind of rural Cumbria, and as far as I understand, you're based in Manchester. I'm not quite sure, but so would you be familiar with this market? But that didn't seem to make any difference, really.
No, I do appreciate the time just to talk through it and say it's beneficial to us, so we know where we're going right on things, and it's beneficial hopefully to other people that will watch it to know that even if they aren't selling in the 7-8 months, that there's probably a solution out there, even if they're told the market isn't there. It's I think it sounds like it's a positive all round.
That's what happened to us.
Yeah.
So we've completed. So success.